And specifically with the new talent tree, now we have to recontextualize all of the different hero talent builds. So we're going to be looking at Colossus and Slayer for arms. And we're going to be looking at Slayer and Mountain Thane for Fury. Right? One sec, I need to. So first things first, we're going to go through the changes that they've made. We can see the new talent tree here. We have the talent calculator here to look at. But we're going to start with this. We're going to start with the changes. And then we'll probably lead that into looking at specifically trying to build talents for the individuals, right? So here are the changes that they've made for the warrior talent tree by itself. Berserker Rage is baseline. Good. It's just a nice utility button to have. Blood and Thunder no longer available for Fury. Blood and Thunder is not a good button for Fury because Fury does not spread Rend. Fury just doesn't have Rend, so having that on the Fury tree didn't make any sense. So that's totally fine. Defensive stance is now free base talent. Okay, so that is good. Just one more talent point. Auto attack speed, Sonic Boom, Titanic Throw removed. So Titanic Throw was here. Sonic Boom was here for the crit talent for Shockwave, but because they're moving Shockwave up, that is gone. And Titanic Throw kind of just was whatever. I don't know. Maybe Prot used it. I don't even think Prot used this shit. I couldn't see them using it. Just kind of a wasted talent point. There's the base trees. Barbaric Training Arms no longer increases rage cost. Damage bonus reduced to 20% with 30%. Now increases critical strike damage by 10%. So this is Barbaric Training here. But the main reason that you were kind of taking Barbaric Training on top of Sword of Storms in the Arms tree was to give yourself a massive rage dump because of Test of Might. So we'll see if Test of Might is kept as we look on. Crackling Thunder now increases Thunderclap damage and increases its previous effect, so now reduces more movement speed and its radius is bigger. This is going to be pretty good for Mountain Thane. Arms might use it just because they have Blood and Thunder, but this is pretty decent talent as an addition to the Mountain Thane stuff. Champion Spear, unfortunately, we still have Champion Spear as a capstone talent. Just generates less rage. Endurance Training is now a 2-point talent for up to 10% increased stamina? Jesus, Fury is going to be ungodly tanky. Oh my god. 10% stamina. Okay. This is just rage economy things. They're just reducing the amount of rage we get back. Same thing for Prot. Armor bonus reduced to 10%, down from 20. Because I mean, as the numbers get higher, the more and more armor you get, so they're just nerfing the talent. Reverberation now affects Thunderclap through Mountain Thane hero specializations. So now it just hits another second time for 30% damage if you hit at least 3 targets. So it's just Mountain Thane's AoE might be kind of crazy, honestly, with all of these effects stacked up. Shockwave is a button, doesn't generate rage anymore. That's fine. They have also moved Shockwave up here, and they have kept the talent that reduces cooldown when you hit multiple targets, which is very strong. PvP now affects Ravager. Okay. Thunderous Roar no longer generates rage. Thunderclap, rage cost reduced. Thunderous Words. So this is different now. Thunderous words used to increase all bleed damage by 15% at all times. Now it's only increasing the bleed damage by 30% while the bleed is active. This is probably one of the reasons they probably made this adjustment is within the Colossus Warrior talent tree, there is the Tides of Battle talent that you get that The sorry, arterial bleed that gives you 2% damage per stack. And depending on how it would work, you would go up to 10 stacks of Colossal Might. And depending on the target count, it could be possible that you would just want to sit at plus 20%, while also having the plus 15% from active at all times from Thunderous Words. So they're probably doing this just to remove the degenerate nature of that gameplay while also not affecting it as much. Still very good damage for AoE, so that's totally fine. Activating Avatar. So they're nerfing Warlord's Torment for arms. So now you get 2 more seconds of you get 2 more seconds of recklessness, but it only activates off Avatar instead of CS, which you got like so that's just a nerf to that talent too. But that's also a nerf to Arms' rage generation, just because that's just more recklessness for. Although most people wanted it for the crit, the rage didn't matter. So they're definitely looking at the rage economy of Arms for sure, and they're reducing Whirlwind down to 20 rage from 30. Now for the Arms, let's look at the tree here. We have Skull Splitter. They removed that one. Now there's just Bloodborne. They removed Improved Cleave. You either choose Hurricane or there's Bone Grinder, and then there's the other one. The one that increases the duration, I'm not sure. But the big thing here is Arms gets Ravager. And depending on how much damage it does, Ravager is just the superior choice in almost every situation. The reason for that being is while your Ravager is active, you still get to press buttons and play the game. While you're blade storming, you're only blade storming. But one thing we have to consider later on with Slayer is that when you're running these Slayer talents, most of the time the talents associated do not activate or work properly like the previous tier set that we had, unless you're spec'd into sudden death or a blade storm. So it is possible that the Slayer talents, even though they're execute focused and Arms is execute focused, that it might be very clunky and worse because you don't want to be running Blade Storm. You want to throw out Ravager as a rage generator and just start slamming executes into the target or Colossus smashes or whatever while Ravager is rolling and giving you stacks instead of you just spinning as a Blade Storm. So they might have to adjust the amount of damage Blade Storm does to make it competitive with that. But Ravager is a very, very strong option. Let's see. New talents. Finishing blows. So replace your move slam. Overpower generates 8 rage when used on enemies below 35% health. So that's just the strength of arms. Can we just look at it? That's all it does? So they remove strength of arms. When the strength of arms is here, I guess it's like, here's your AoE, here's your single target choice, and then overpower just generates rage. Seems kind of clunky, actually. Like, I mean, maybe that's a decent talent. Maybe our rage economy is going to be something that we want this, but I don't know, man. That seems pretty clunky, just from the outlook. And like it says here, we now have Ravager as a choice node instead. Move talents. Lateral damage replaces Strength of Arms in choice node with improved sweeping strikes. Strength of Arms in a choice node, but the problem is it's not the same Strength of Arms now that Strength of Arms was cut in half and then is now a choice node with half of it being here and half of it being here, which seems very odd. Tides, Reaping Swings removed, Tides of Blood removed, effect baked into Skull Splitter, so that's just a straight buff to Skull Splitter. Anger Management now affects Ravager as well as Blade Storm and Colossus Smash. Ooh. Arms is looking good. Looking good. Battle Lord no longer generates rage. Blade Storm no longer generates rage. Collateral damage now applies to Cleave in addition to Whirlwind, but the previous buff that we got to Cleave is becoming more and more of a real button on top of that, with Merciless Bone Grinder down here in the tree, Whirlwind and Cleave damage increased by 50% damage for the Ravager, you might be able to get a massive fucking Cleave running collateral damage in keys compared to improved sweeping strikes. Dance of Death now applies to Ravager in addition to Bladestorm. If the Bladestorm helps kill an enemy, your next Bladestorm lasts 33 seconds longer. I don't really know if that's going to be any good. That talent's always seemed like weird and lackluster, and I don't even know why it's there. I don't know. It doesn't seem good to me. Deft Experience, bonus chance to trigger Tactician reduced. Okay. Dreadnought longer grants overpower. Second charges, that effect is moved here to improved overpower. So they took the damage. Oh, it's 2 charges and deals damage. Interesting. So I guess they wanted to remove it off of the second charge off of Dreadnought, so the gameplay flow is better. Then you can take Strength of Arms for pure single target instead of Dreadnought. Interesting. God, the tree looks so awkward. Like just the visual of it looks awkward. Hurricane now affects Ravager in addition to Bladestorm. That is once again, able to hit buttons while you're building increased strength. Really good, very strong. We still keep Tested in mind, unfortunately, as well for arms. In for the Kill now matches the duration of Colossus Smash and Warbreaker. Okay, so here's something that's interesting. With blunt instruments, it increases the duration by 3 seconds, so now you can have a 13-second in for the kill window. But at the same time, you're also, if someone was cooking earlier, and depending on how it works out, whether or not you want anger management or not, I'm assuming you're still going to. But if you take Spiteful Serenity, you could have the in for the kill bonus up for 26 seconds with Spiteful Serenity, which might be decent, but who knows? I don't know. Seems very odd. It'll probably still be AM, though. At least AM is just certainly my preferred play style. So when Ravager ends, Warwind and Cleave deal 50% increased damage for 7 seconds with Ravager instead. Yeah, that's still fine. Depending on the cooldowns and the resets, you're going to be able to get multiple cleaves. And looks like they actually increased the cooldown of cleave. Maybe it'll probably be lower when hasted, if it's a hasted CD. New red baseline from Tides of Blood Skull Splitter now also causes them to deal additional damage. This on top of the change with Thunderous Words could be pretty significant in terms of damage, because now you're able to fit in the Skull Splitter within your Thunderous Words window. So now you're doing a lot of bleed damage within that window, especially with the bleed out faster. And it was buffed with the Tides of Blood passive too, and you'd be taking Bloodborne, which could increase the effect even further. So Skull Splitter coming back, maybe? And as they're working on the rage economy, like they reduced Rend, and Storm of Swords was one of those that increased Whirlwind costs, where you'd basically Whirlwind would just dump rage for you because you just have so much of it. It's also why we were using Ignore Pain a significant amount of time, just because it was bonus damage to use this defensive spell, which is also weird. Which is something that the Trickster wrote. Was it Trickster? It's one of the rogues who are complaining about using Feint. Which, to be fair, the energy economy is not the same thing as Rage. So, Strength of Arms, known one cause low power, generate Rage, fact move to finishing blows. Tactician, chance to reset overpower reduced. So they're just they're changing the rage economy of arms a lot, where it's like there's stuff costs less rage, but you're also not getting a lot of more free shit or reset shit. Unhinged, cast 1 Mortal Strike during Ravager, 2 during Bladestorm. Technically, I already did this, but Arms didn't have the access to Ravager. Valor and Victory increases by up to 2% versatility, up for 1%. This is still 1 point. Yeah, still pretty good. But a main difference here is previously Valor and Victory, you would see in this tree, would lead to these side nodes, but now Valor and Victory is in here by itself. So you can't take this and then shift out. Everything leads back into this capstone compared to being able to branch out. So it makes it far more restrictive because you can see everything's moving out. So now how it works is you're essentially like, okay, I'm going to do this stuff or I'm going to do this stuff. And then you can go either way with it instead of being like, all right, I'm going to do some of this and then I'm going to grab some of this here and grab some of this here. You're not really doing that as much from the looks of it. Well, once we are playing with the talent calculator, we'll see more. But that's it for Arms, so let's move over to Fury. And we'll see the changes here. Also, as a difference point of these videos, I do want to notice as well that I'm broadcasting these on Twitch, and then I'm just going to be splitting the VODs into highlights and then uploading those rather than recording a video specifically in and of itself. Just so I can basically 2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing. A lot of content creators do it, and I think it's more efficient for me to do it this way. Okay, new talents. Powerful and Rage. Where is this on the talent tree? Choice node with improved Rage. So increases your haste and movement speed. And Rage increases the damage your abilities deal by an additional 15%, and a Rage duration is increased by 1 second. So basically, you can have like a slower, more hard-hitting warrior, or a harder hitting, or potential faster play style. One thing I find though is weird is once you start hitting like DR caps and later in the expansion, it is possible that improved in Rage will be better early on, and then powerful in Rage will be better later on, as you'll have the secondary stats to do whatever you want with. One thing that I do wish is that the move speed, I don't think can be understated about how useful it is. And I kind of wish Powerful and Rage also received the bonus move speed. But I guess they want it to feel more like a Juggernaut than like a fast hitting character. But Fury gains the introduction of Bladestorm again. Become an unstoppable form, blah, blah, blah. Now it's just a choice node with Ravager here. Fury had to get this because when they added the Slayer hero talents, you need Bladestorm. Otherwise, the talents won't fucking work. I think it would be really interesting if for the Slayer talents, if instead they also worked with Ravager, allowing you to still play the game instead of just spinning all the time. That might be a potential change for that. That would really help Slayer. But right now, Slayer is looking kind of awkward. Prove Raging Bro. Raging Bro? Raging Blow and Cruelty, swap locations, Meat Cleaver, Ruined, and Shuffled. They've been moved around here. Why is Single-Minded Fury still here? I don't understand it. But one thing I find that's very weird about the tree is that this is the Bloodthirst side, kinda, and then this is the Raging Blow side. But I think they're trying to fix where we just had a lot of talents affecting them. But one thing I thought they'd make Bloodthirst a bigger button, but it looks like it's still on a. They didn't increase its cooldown, so it's still going to be like a primary button. But I thought they would make it a more harder hitting button based on the hero talents that we saw. Frenzied Flurry is now baked into Single-Minded Fury. Raging Armaments is removed. Sword of Storms is removed. Annihilator is removed. Because one thing that would happen with so that means Raging Blow had okay, so no, they baked armaments into improved Raging Blow is what they did. So where you still have because like are you only gonna have one Bloodthirst charge and one Raging Blow charge? That'd be kind of weird. And just rotate between them. But instead of that, we're going to be we still have two charges, so the playstyle will be somewhat similar, it looks like. Anger Management now flex Blade Storm, Deft Experience. Now increases Bloodthirst's chance to trigger Enrage. Previously reduced the cooldown of Bloodthirst. I mean, that's Mastery, so that's like 1% damage, but in the Arms tree, we got 2% Verse for one talent point. And now it's still 2 here. Chance to trigger Enrage. I don't know, seems very odd. Fury seems very odd so far to me. Single-Minded Fury, we already talked about that. Improved Enrage changed to Frenzied Enrage because they want to differentiate between the Hasted Enrage and the Damage Enrage. Storm of Steel now affects Blade Storm as well as Ravager, but bonus rage generation reduced to 10 was 20. Tenderize no longer increases rage duration. Okay. Wrath and Fury is clarified to increase Raging Blow's chance to reset by an additional 10%. An additional 10% chance, no functional changes. Okay, so it's the same shit. Overall, it honestly looks like Arms as seemingly the big winner as far as like these changes are concerned. We did get in the base warrior tree, I think the change to having more access to things like this is interesting, but it also means that if we want anything specific, we're going to have to go deeper for it. Like you see all these these additional side nodes. But realistically, it's going to be how do they work into what each talent tree is doing and how important that is going to be. Because as it stands, this only matters when it's acting around the talents here. So I'm very curious to see how they fit together. The next thing we're going to be looking at is well, basically, I'm essentially going to do a video on every single like warrior type, Mountain Thane Slayer, Colossus and Slayer. So that'll be the next couple videos coming in. We're just going to be looking through this and kind of building a tree around the talent setup, right?